Hi, sweeties. How are you doing? Welcome to Naya Sim, and thank you all so much for all the love and support. Hope you all are doing great. So today we'll be talking something very important, and it's about something that everybody is very much worried about because life is very hard right now since after COVID, and the best the government can do for its own people is to make homelessness a crime. Like right now, I think it's already effect in some places. Like it is something that they are working on to make homelessness a crime. If you are homeless, you probably go, like you are going to prison or jail or whichever one. I don't understand. And you know, when you are taken to jail or prison, you know that your rights is being taken away from you, and you cannot vote to get the people, the government that is messing things up for its own citizen out of the way. And right now, a lot of people are kind of worried, and a lot of people are trying to find out why the government is not even being kind to know how they can curb the homelessness, because you all know how expensive rents are becoming. Not just like it looks like every year rent is increasing in a very huge way. So why is the government not trying to make a law that can curtail the amount that is being increased on properties every year? Because like, how are you earning not so much and rent is increasing every day or every year? Let's get into this video.
What does the American government think is going to happen if rent prices continue to increase and our salaries are not increasing with it? Genuinely, what do they think is going to happen? I truly don't understand not doing rent caps. I know that's a thing in New York, but I'm from the South. I've never heard of such a thing down here. I only hear about it in New York. That needs to be instituted nationwide, and it needs to be by state, by square footage of the apartment, how many bedrooms, has it been updated, things like that. Because the thing that doesn't make sense to me is I'm in the same apartment for years. You're not changing my carpet, you're not painting any walls in here, you're not giving me new appliances, and you're increasing the price of staying here every year, but nothing is changing. Like, I would totally respect it if you renovated my place and made it luxury and then increased the price. I would get that. I would respect it, but nothing has changed and you're increasing the price on me. I don't understand, because eventually now I'm lucky that I have been in a place that has been increasing for the past 5 years that I've been here, but it has not increased outrageously. And I believe that is because of when I started living here and the fact that I stayed with them. They're choosing not to raise it outrageously. What happens if I continue to stay here 10 years from now? Is this same apartment going to be $5,000 a month, even though nothing in here has changed? Like, what do people expect to happen? Like, of course, people are going to go out and search for a cheaper place, and they're going to move out of your place. And eventually, if you skyrocket your prices enough, no one is going to live there at all. No one is going to live there because it's not going to be affordable. So what do people think is going to happen when you continue to increase the prices of these things and no one's salary or nothing about the place is changing? Like, it sounds like a rhetorical question, but is there actually a business person, someone out there who knows the logic behind this and knows, like, this is the end goal? What the heck is going on? What does the American government think is going to happen if rent prices can...
The end goal is slavery. The Supreme Court is hearing a case that will dictate if it's constitutional to further criminalize being unhoused in this country. The goal is to work you to death or disability. And if you don't die or you aren't disabled, to make it so that you aren't able to afford anything in life to unhouse you. And then when you are unhoused, they want to make it like a thing so that they can arrest you and make being unhoused in public a felony. In the United States, slavery is legal so long as you are incarcerated. And felons don't have the right to vote. Even if you've paid your debt to society and you're out, you're still, in most cases, not able to vote. So you won't be able to vote to improve the system that incarcerated you in the first place, that unhoused you in the first place. And being unhoused comes with its own set of horrific and traumatizing challenges. I've talked on my page before how there are different types of houselessness, and the one that we typically know the most of are people who are on the streets or in shelters, but there's something called hidden homelessness. Hidden homelessness is when you are couch surfing or living in basements or hotels or motels. And a large number of unhoused people are hidden homeless. The corporations and the government want to use the threat of being unhoused and therefore a criminal to force you to continue working at these jobs that do not pay you enough to live. Because as long as you're housed, you're better off than the person who is not. And it is really hard to dig yourself out of being unhoused. Unless you have like an insane amount of help, it's almost impossible, if not impossible. My wife and I have been unhoused for almost a year now, and we are still not anywhere closer to being housed. So, the goal is to unhouse you, disable you, incarcerate you, and then use you for forced labor. That's why workers' rights, unhoused rights, abolition, disability, all of those things are connected.
If rent prices continue to increase and our salaries are not increasing.
This is going to be a long video. I'm going to put the video length somewhere on this screen. So this is merely conjecture as a millennial who has taken a very keen interest in politics in the last several years. And this is just a few possible outcomes I think might happen with this housing versus paycheck crisis, because the government doesn't really seem to be doing anything in either direction to help us. I believe it is actually this morning SCOTUS just agreed to hear a case, the City of Grants Pass versus Johnson. And what this outlines is whether or not our Constitution states that the government has to do something about homelessness, has to take in these people and give them a place to live temporarily or otherwise. If they have to do something about it, is me boiling this down, okay? The alternative, if they went the other direction, would outline whether or not cities, states, government can essentially outlaw not having a home, being homeless, and actually remove people from public settings, sleeping in park benches, propping themselves up outside a store, if they can not only remove them from these public places, but also fine them, which you're finding people who don't likely work, because getting any job without proper documentation and an address is actually very hard. So if they vote in favor of that, if they say, yeah, absolutely, we have a duty to, sweep up all these people, not give them any sort of housing, assistance, anything, and actually charge them money for being homeless, do you see how that may create a case of, mass incarceration? Do you know how many people are without a home right now in the U.S.? It's a lot. It's a lot. The last time I looked, I want to say it was over 200,000. And what happens to these people if SCOTUS says that absolutely we do not owe them anything, any resources, temporary housing, or just housing, anything? They owe them nothing, and instead can charge them money, which obviously they're not going to be able to pay, so then they get picked up, and then they get incarcerated, and then they go to jail, which is the only legal version of slavery, essentially, that the U.S. still has in place. Like, you are essentially an indentured servant. And if they make it a federal charge to get picked up on the homelessness, or even not paying your fines, making that a felony, whatever, they get creative. It could go either way. If they make it a felony, you can't vote. You can't vote your way out of this system of oppression to change what's happening. And what's more, let's say you're kind of in the middle of the spectrum. Most of us, or at least a great deal of us in the US, are a paycheck away from homelessness, or like a catastrophic emergency, a huge hospital bill, getting diagnosed with cancer. Like, all of these things could lead directly to homelessness for many Americans. But let's say you're a little less on that side, a little more on the secure, you have a good job, or you own a home, your mortgage is doable, whatever. Let's say you're kind of in the middle of that spectrum. You're not necessarily well off, but you're not necessarily closer to poverty. What do you think happens to them? And I think I have an answer. A few mega corporations have been discussing it. I don't know for sure if anything has been built or actually planned, but there have been discussions about company towns. And if you don't know what company towns are, they used to be a thing way back. It was a way to get people to move out west and actually, expand the US. And what would happen is these big companies would make a town, a literal town, with houses for all of their employees. There's probably like a corner store, a grocer, a pharmacist, maybe even a dentist in this town. And they wouldn't actually pay them currency, like US currency. They would, in a lot of places, pay them with company money. So your employer controls your housing, controls the price of your groceries, controls where you live, maybe even the car you drive. If we're talking about this happening now, I'm sure they would lease you vehicles or whatever, and it would be such a good perk, and everything is so cheap, and oh my god, they would control almost every aspect of your life. I'm not saying they might not pay in US currency. That I get why that was a thing before. I'm not necessarily saying you would go that route, but what I am saying is you would be spending so much of your money in these towns, you wouldn't be able to save and get out or get a new employer. You would be living in these company towns. I'm not trying to get all conspiracy theory, but depending on what SCOTUS says, in this case, the city of Grants Pass versus Johnson, this will set the tone for what happens to homeless people in America. Do we owe them anything, or should they be incarcerated? And the fact that so many of us are food insecure, housing insecure. We are looking around at these prices everywhere, at the grocery store, everywhere, just inflating. And if they ruled that the government shouldn't do anything, because there's a lot they could do aside from ticketing them and putting them in jail for being homeless. There's so much more they could do. They could actually raise the minimum wage. That would be cool. They could put a rent cap in most states. There are arguably much better, cheaper ways and more humane than just locking people up for not having a house because they do nothing about the increasing prices of everything. But take it from a token millennial, do your own research. I'm not saying I'm right. I'm just saying I've put these things together and now I'm putting it out into the universe. Take it as you will.
The same apartment for years. You're not changing my carpet.
This video is really good. You should listen to it. No, because I moved into an apartment getting back on my feet after 10 years of a different situation. And it was a lease takeover. So they said, okay, well, we're not doing shit. You can just go in. And then after a year, they increased my rent. And not only did the building not get updated, my apartment never got updated, the building decreased. The elevator's been out for 6 months. No lighting on the stairs. I'm a 3-story walk up. And I'm increasing for what? What am I paying for? Not to mention the fact that you have to pay 3 times the rent for the security deposit. What do they want us to do? It's insane.
We don't understand not doing rent caps.
Hey guys, it's your girl Bree, your multifamily fanatic, and I'm back with another property management video. So let's talk about rent caps and why it may not always be an option. So when it comes to the rental rate that you are charged as a tenant, it is not solely based on the property features. It's also based on your market trends. When I speak of market trends, I'm talking about the vacancy rates, your local real estate market, the economic conditions, and an array of other things. And it also is based on the owner's expenses. So the expenses that the landlord or the owner face is also factored into the rental rate that is charged to the tenants. Some expenses that owners do face on a monthly or annual basis would be the cost of owning and maintaining the property, taxes, insurance, and mortgage payments if that is something that they have. Now, unfortunately, I know a lot of tenants just like to think that landlords are just throwing these crazy prices out, just want to take out of their pocket and are inconsiderate. Now, I can't speak for all landlords, but I do just want to shed light that there are other expenses that are factored into the rate of your rent. Now, for my tenants, when it comes to renewing your lease, there are other options. You can either do a renewal transfer. You can transfer to a better unit in the community. Of course, the rent is going to increase, but when it comes to renewing and transferring, the price is a little more flexible opposed to a new move-in. So you can definitely negotiate that with your property manager. And also, you can ask for a renewal tune-up. Now, a renewal tune-up is not a full make-ready or turn of a unit. It is just, as you know, the title says, it's a tune-up of your apartment, and there are certain restrictions. A lot of times, you can either opt for a complimentary carpet shampoo, not a replacement. You can opt in for some sample paint, so you can do some touch-up painting around your apartment. You can ask for a new appliance or a used appliance that is in better condition than what you have if you've been there for a long duration of time. It is based solely on the owner or the property management company. So if you've never heard of a renewal tune-up, ask your property manager when it's time to renew your lease so she can give you some insight on the policy that they go for when it comes to that. But I do want to open up, just some discussion because I love this topic when it comes to renewals. The cost of rent, especially in this day and age, it is increasingly high. So, just tell me some things that you faced as a tenant with your property manager when it came to asking for some upgrades in your apartment upon renewing, asking to transfer, negotiating the prices. I definitely want to hear, some stories that you guys are facing. I love to engage. I love to assist. So if there's anything I can do, it's all about the wordplay. So sometimes you just have to know what to say and how to say it to your manager for them to say, you know what, you're right, you got it, you know what I'm trying to say. But yeah, comment down below. Let's talk about it. It's a topic that I always hear about from clients, from tenants, from friends, colleagues, things like that, because it's getting out of hand. And again, I'm a manager, property manager, but I'm a tenant as well. And for those in the comments that are going to be quick to say, you probably don't pay rent, you probably stay on property. No, I don't. I don't live at any of the communities I work for. I do pay rent. I am a single mother, but I also have multiple streams of income. But again, everyone, they aren't fortunate to have that. So we definitely have to do something about it. But I just want to say, don't blame your landlord, blame your government.
American governments think is going to happen if rent prices continue to increase?
Oh, you don't know? You will be homeless. You will be homeless quicker. And then that's the fastest that they can get you incarcerated. And once you're incarcerated, you can no longer vote. So there's that. So they won't have you going against their policies, voting against their candidates. And then they will sell you for cheap or free labor back to the corporations. And because, housing prisoners and all of that, then, they got the corporate towns or whatever. So then you'll be in the corporate towns. And then they will have, free cattle. They can't vote, they can't think, they can't house themselves. That's in debt to everybody and everything. But now they don't have to deal with the fruit of it all. So, yeah, welcome.
Painting any walls in here, you're not giving me new appliances, and you're increasing the
Where I live in San Diego, it's not even like the nice part of San Diego. My rent here is sometimes it's almost $2,200, depending on utilities, and right now utilities are really high. But when I started out living here like 4 years ago, rent was $1,600. So it's went up from $1,600 to almost $2,100. So, and they haven't changed anything in this apartment. This apartment looks shitty. The maintenance people are always in here trying to fix it back to its natural state. But what they do with the money and the increase is fix the property. That's what they do.
So this is all I got from the video, Stitches, and trust me, I know a lot of things are going wrong, like, recently, probably after COVID, and things are not like the same. People are not making a lot of money, and salary is not increasing, but rent always increasing. Always, and that really sucks. And how do we get the government to do something? The government is not even doing anything, but then now they have passed a bill that if you are homeless, you are straight up going to jail. But then, of all things to do, of all things that it's going wrong in the world, of all things to do to help human beings, of all things to do, it is sending people to jail because they are probably homeless. Does that really make any sense? I don't think it does not make any sense. And now when people are being sent, if they send you to jail, you lose most of your rights and you cannot vote. You are being incarcerated. And some of them probably will work in the prison for a lesser pay, like it's more, according to the second girl, like more like slavery. And you all know slavery never left. And you people know that something like this is really going to affect a lot of families and people like me too. That's why I decided to bring it here. I mean, I don't understand what is going on. Instead of the government going to the landlords or trying to, curtail the rate at which rents are increasing every day. I don't think that, okay, so that is also not happening. It's not only happening in US. Here, like every year, if you are going to renew your rent every year, you find out that what you pay this year is not what you're paying next year. Like the rent is increasing, like, so much that you are even asking questions like, why is it increasing this much? You get what I am saying? So with everything going on and all that, the best they can do is to say that, homelessness is now a jail term. Like, if you are homeless, you are going to jail straight up. Like, do you know how many people that will be in prison? Do you know how many people that will be in prison or jail? I don't know, they want to say. So many people. And when you take them to jail, you strip off their rights and all that. I don't know, like the government is like being very mean. Instead of helping us live our life, like helping us, like, so we can achieve whatever we are working towards and all that, they are helping you to, like, make your life really very hard. How are people going to survive? This is like I am so much concerned. How are people going to survive? People are probably being homeless, trying to put themselves together, probably like, get some money to get accommodation, like set themselves up and all that. And then they're telling them, like, if you're homeless, God help us, like, because this is really going to be a very sad one. Let me know what you all think in the comment section. Thank you so much and see you all in my next video. Bye for now.